Hi there, welcome back. Democrats rushing to pass a new $433 billion climate and social spending bill. And this time, Joe Manchin will not save us. Thanks, President Joe. The West Virginia senator has joined forces with Chuckles McGillicuddy, Chuck Schumer, of course, to co-sponsor the so-called Inflation Reduction Act. Yeah, spending a bunch of money to fight inflation. That's rich. Of course, it will do the opposite of that. A study from the Congressional Joint Committee on Taxation says it will also raise taxes for millions of Americans earning less than $400,000 a year. But the White House says they're full of malarkey.
Well, that isn't correct.
So the Joint Committee on Taxation, which you guys heralded as an effective body when you were selling that infrastructure package, is not to be trusted here.
I said it is not correct because I will give you why it's not correct, because it is incomplete.
Maybe you need more time. Don't try to jam the thing through, madam. Remember when President Biden promised that under his administration, taxes wouldn't go up? Read my lips.
One of the things we're trying to get done in the Congress is to pass legislation that won't raise taxes a single penny for anybody making less than $400,000.
You make less than 400, you're not going to pay a penny in tax.
I'm willing to make sure that we pay for everything without anyone making less than $400,000 paying a single cent more in taxes.
So was he lying then, or is he lying now? The party panel is back. Katie Pavlich, Hannah Cox, Spike Cohen. So, Katie, let us begin. I don't believe anyone who says this is not going to raise taxes. It is impossible. Yeah. It's like when your doctor tells you you are a great big fat person and you go, excellent, I'm going to go on a high-fat, high-carbohydrate diet. That'll fix it.
That's a perfect description of exactly what they're trying to sell here. It's not only inflationary, this bill, it does raise taxes and it adds to the debt, which is now in the tens of trillions of dollars. Joe Manchin apparently had to prove that he's still a Democrat by giving Joe Biden some kind of win before the midterm elections. I think that their strategy here is to try and get anything done that they know is inflationary, and they don't care because they're going to lose the House, possibly the Senate, and by the time the cost catches up with the bill, they can blame the inflation on Republicans who then have to deal with the issue. But the idea that Joe Biden promised Americans that he wouldn't raise taxes is such a joke, considering inflation has been the #1 most brutal tax that has been put on every single American in this country at 9.1%. Energy prices being up by 50% at the gas pump. I mean, this idea that Ron Klain is retweeting analysis saying that this bill doesn't raise taxes completely ignores not only the inflation that we've already seen that is only going up, but also the inflation that will be inflicted further on the American people by this bill.
Yeah, they're certainly not making it better, and politicians have never had a hard time lying about things. Consequences be damned. Read my lips. That was George H.W. Bush. No new taxes. Guess what? There were new taxes. And then we had President Clinton and little baby Chelsea. Hannah.
Listen, Joe Biden saying he won't raise taxes on people making less than $400,000 it's going to go down like his Obama, you can keep your doctor if you like your doctor. This man has done nothing but try to raise taxes on each and every single one of us over the past year. And through his other economic policies, he's bankrupting us, bankrupting our dollar, taking away our savings, and taking away the purchasing power of every American. But I have to say, I'm actually more disappointed in the other Joe Manchin, because we were rooting for you, Joe. We were all rooting for you, and now you're going to sell us out after standing firm on Build Back Better. This is just another kind of version of that bill. And just like most bills, its name is actually an indication that it does the direct opposite. We know this is going to have a statistically insignificant impact on inflation, and it's going to raise taxes on everybody making less than $200,000 a year by $16 billion. People need to start asking, who are these people working for? Because it's not the American people, not one bit.
Absolutely not, and certainly not the American people who are struggling, who are having a miserable time in their personal economy, and the White House is telling them that everything is great. This is the most economically successful president we've seen in 60 years. What do high taxes do to an inflationary environment, Spike?
Well, Kennedy, it's very simple. The same economic advisors that told us that rampant spending and taxation would not lead to inflation, and then we weren't experiencing inflation and then actually we were, but it's transitory. Well, actually, it's just temporary. Well, it's not as high as they think it is. Well, actually, it's a good thing, are now informing us that if we just raise debt even a little bit more and raise taxes a little bit more, then that will definitely keep inflation, that will start to put inflation under control. If you compare this act and the CHIPS Act and the Science Act, which are really just a bunch of big corporate handouts of hundreds of billions of dollars each, you are looking at hundreds, well over $100 billion, hundreds of billions of dollars in new taxes, and $1 trillion in the worst tax of all, which is inflation. All that money is going to be printed out by the Federal Reserve to pay off the debt to the Treasury, and that's going to be that much more money circulating in the economy. The cost of living is going to go up as a result of it. You know, and it's like Hannah said, you know, the Patriot Act wasn't patriotic. The Affordable Care Act didn't make care affordable, and the No Child Left Behind Act has left tens of millions of children behind. I know we're going to be talking about that in a minute. And frankly, the Inflation Act is just going to make inflation worse. And,
of course it is.
I wish we would break that cycle.
Big government and central banking. And they're having a trial that is not nearly as sweet as little baby Chelsea. I wish it were. Meanwhile, it seems like